Good day to each and every one of you. Welcome to EDUC 70, Facilitating Learner-Centered Teaching. For this presentation, we will be having the Chapter 1, the Learner-Centered Psychological Principles. I am Ms. Glofilin B. Baes for this presentation. Our Lesson 1 is Learning Principles Associated to Cognitive, Metacognitive, and Motivational Affective Factors. First thing, we need to have the cognitive and metacognitive. Let's differentiate the two. First, they're both thinking cups. It's just that we need to have the initiate or the initiative to work for the cognitive and metacognitive that we are having inside our minds. For the cognitive, it's just like mental process that we need to have a point to remember something or to have idea that we will be needing in the near future. But on the other hand, for the metacognitive, it is like a switch in our mind that needs to be triggered to think critically, and then afterwards, you need to think beyond thinking. So for the cognitive, it is just the start or the first move for your thinking up. And then for the metacognitive, it is the beyond thinking of your thinking cup. In short, cognitive or factors refers to the mental processes the learners undergo as they process an information. The way learners think about their thinking as they engage in mental tasks is the concern of the metacognitive factor. So let's dig deeper into cognitive. First one under cognitive is the domain specific knowledge. So in domain specific knowledge, there is the initiative of the students to have idea, and then afterwards they do have goal state. So for their thinking or first step of thinking, they have the initial state and then the goal state. Afterwards, they do have the attempt. It is or is this close to the goal state, and then another attempt up to the final attempt until they got their goal state. So that is how cognitive started and ended. Thinking of the initial state of thinking and then the goal state of thinking. After the domain specific knowledge, we will be having the strategic knowledge and then information processing up to the target goal setting. So for this four, it is just the four easy steps in your or inside your thinking cup. But when we do have the metacognitive, on the other hand, it is the knowledge of cognition. From the first one, from the cognitive, we do have already the cognition there. But in the metacognitive, we will dig deeper into the knowledge of it or of the cognition. Next, after the strategic knowledge from cognitive, we will be having task knowledge into the metacognitive, followed by planning, monitoring, and evaluating. So to dig deeper into the metacognitive, I do have this diagram. This is metacognitive, thinking about thinking. From the metacognitive, you will be needing planning ahead, critical review, self-regulated, conscious, and deliberate. So if you are into your metacognitive already inside your thinking cup, you need to do this five, or you are already into this five. You're you're balancing if your planning or your plans will be into your goal. And then there is the planning, monitoring, and evaluating of yourself. Not just your initiative in starting your idea and then having the target goal, but rather doing the process of getting your idea and digging deeper into your target goal. So another example of this one, or of the cognitive and the metacognitive, is the Bloom's taxonomy, wherein in the near future, as you become teacher now, you will be needing Bloom's taxonomy and assessing your students. So the cognitive here starts with the remember and understand. So this is under, or these two are under cognitive, while apply, analyze, evaluate, and create are under already the metacognitive. As you can see in the Bloom's taxonomy, with the remembering, it's just that you need to recall the basic concepts, and then for the understanding, you just need to explain the ideas or the concepts. But from the apply to create, you will be getting what you are needing, or your students will be having what they are needing. It is because of their thinking beyond thinking. So let's have now the cognitive and metacognitive factors that can affect students or your students in the near future. First is the learning of complicated subject matter is most effective when it is an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experience. Ayan. According to my presentation, of course, sorry for the math subject, no, it is really talking about realistic examples, no, math is the most complex subject for most of the students. Not all, but most of the students. But if the students do have initiative to learn about this subject matter, it is better. According to SpongeBob, diba? Now this will be a great learning experience for you. Ayan, when you try to learn something and you do have the initiative to do it, 'di ba? Parang you will be having the learning process through experiencing it. So teachers play a significant role in guiding their learners to become active, goal-directed, and self-regulating, and to assume personal responsibility for their learning. The learning activities and opportunities provided by the teacher are very important situations where learners can integrate knowledge and concepts to their experiences. So here in our factor number one, we will be letting our students, so student-centered nga po, di ba? We need to let our students to do the learning process itself by themselves. So hindi pwedeng spoon feed lang natin yung mga estudyante natin and ibibigay natin lahat. No, it's just that kahit sobrang hirap na, no, at nakikita natin na nahihirapan na talaga yung mga estudyante, it's part of their growth na kailangan natin i-boost sa kanila. So they still need to experience that complexity for them to learn something. An intentional learning environment is one that fosters activity and feedback and creates a culture that promotes metacognition. Of course, we will not stop just under cognition or cognitive. That is one in which the learner becomes aware or of his or her learning process and can use tools to enhance this learning process. So, this is the first factor. Parang dito pa lang, di ba, pinapakita na agad na hayaan mo na matuto yung estudyante na hindi mo binibigay lahat. Let them do some effort for their own learning. So, that's the factor number one under cognitive and metacognitive factors. So, let's have now the number two. For number two, the successful learner over time and with the support of the instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representation of knowledge. So into my presentation, after your graduation, of course, you will be a successful learners already. Hopefully. And then, according to Kuya, sa aking presentation, ayan, it takes time. Actually, sa totoo, ganyan talaga, no, dadaan kayo sa first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Actually, from elementary yan, no, kasama yon. But, according to this, with the support and instructional guidance of your parents and of course, your teacher, magiging meaningful and coherent representation naman siya ng knowledge. Ayan, so yung guidance namin and then yung learning na binibigay ng experiences ninyo, no? So mag-sum up yan dun sa pagiging successful learners nyo. Like, learners need to be a goal-directed. Of course, you're not students just to be students. May goals kayo at the end. And us, teachers, have to guide the learners in terms of determining their personal goal. And dito, medyo papasok na yung behavioral side. So, yung interest nila, kailangan natin malaman so that mag-guide natin sila na mas maigi dun sa end goal na gusto nila. They need to set their goals, not dictated by others. Tandaan nyo yon, ha? Yung estudyante natin, ayaw nang dinidiktahan kung ano ba yung gusto nila to ensure their willingness to achieve them. Meaningful learning takes place when what is presented to learners is much related to their needs and interests. When learners have good understanding of the concepts discussed in school, they can reach long-term goals most likely. Indeed, it is challenging to motivate learners to succeed. Of course, we are the fountain of giving students motivation in finishing their studies or having their great experiences in studies. And then we will be giving them a lifelong goal, no? And then, kumaga yung long term na sinasabi natin ay magiging committed sila, no? Yung commitment ay naandun para matapos. And then, sabi nga kasi, over time, no? It takes time nga talaga. Kasi kung mawawala sa kanila yon na maiinip sila, no? Hindi na nila tatapusin yung studies nila. And it is part of our duties and responsibility na ipakita sa kanila yung long-term goal na sinasabi sa education or kahit dun sa mga dreams and achievements na gusto ng mga students natin to achieve. So that's the number 2. For the number 3, the successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. Here, we will be having the schema. So we need to activate their past learnings or their past knowledge to use it in our present subject. Halimbawa, in BSE, in EDUC 17, no? Kailangan ko ng mga ideas nyo, former ideas nyo from child and ado. So, we need to trigger that para mai-link natin yung ideas nyo before dun sa ideas na meron tayo ngayon. In planning a new lesson to be presented, we teachers would usually find it more effective when they connect the learner's existing knowledge to the new information. For example, we will be having or you will be having activities connected or about the pandemic, of course, like what you're experiencing right now, yung online class because of pandemic, di ba? Makaka-relate kayo do'n. Kasi nga, yun yung nangyayari sa present natin. So, magagamit natin yan. The integration of the prior experiences to a new concept to be learned is a way of making connections between what is new and what is already known. That new knowledge is created from old knowledge is the very heart of constructivism. Teachers should initiate more opportunities for learners to share ideas, experiences, observations, and readings as the need arises. Sharing prior knowledge can be done in creative strategies like concept mapping, group activities that is not allowed for this time, and other collaborative techniques where learners are also able to learn from each other's experiences. For that matter, collaboration of each students at the middle of the pandemic, it is really hard for you to do that. But let me think of other assessments that you will be having time to collaborate with your classmates so that you will not be limited into your own idea, but rather will have ideas from others or from your classmates. So that's number 3. Let's have now the number 4. The successful learner can relate and use a repertoire of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. So for this time, you will be needing yourself, your own ideas, your stock knowledge, okay, your collective ideas according to different kinds of learning goals that you will be needing to achieve. Strategic thinking is a person's ability to use knowledge in different ways to solve problems. Of course, if you do have solution 1, you need to have solution 2, 3, up to the point you will get your end point or your end goal. Address concerns and issues, decrease difficulties in certain situations, and make sound decisions and judgments in varied conditions. Strategic thinkers do not easily give up in different situations. They are more challenged to find ways to solve a problem, no matter how many times they already failed. They are not afraid to commit mistakes because they perceive them as meaningful learning experiences and continuously discover other ways of arriving at solution. Teachers, us, are supposed to give them as many opportunities to learn, experiment, solve, and explore new ideas and concepts. Thus, to motivate and encourage the learners to be more creative and innovative in their ideas, opinions, and responses are must for teachers. So yun, aside from letting our students to learn from their own, yun, we still need to push them, our students, no, to learn more things. Not just those little things that they need to know, but the complex ones, okay? And then let's have now the fifth one. This is the HOTS, okay? The higher thinking skills or higher order thinking skills na kailangan ng mga estudyante. So dito po papasok yun sa number 5. Higher order strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operations facilitate creative and critical thinking. Again, higher order strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operations facilitate creative and critical thinking. So for this one, no, we will be having the 21st century critical thinkers. So yan, so you need to be open-minded, engage in problem solving, collaborate with others, analyze, reason, and evaluate. So these things are under metacognitive already. Make real-world applications, reflect on learning, think critically, and creatively, communicate clearly and accurately. So yan, so for the 21st century learners like you need to have this critical mind for the HATS or for the higher order thinking skills that you will be needing and facing right now, okay? So in one of the most challenging roles of us teachers or you in the near future is to develop among their learners higher order thinking skills. So like dun sa pinakita ko kanina na Bloom's taxonomy, yung higher order thinking skills po ay yung mga nasa metacognitive side na po. So after na note, remember and understand, lahat na po dun sa taas ay HOTS or higher order thinking skills. It means that their learners can do evaluation, synthesis, analysis, and interpretation of varied concepts, information, and knowledge. So yun nga yung nasa hanggang create na po, no? As previously mentioned, learners develop their thinking skills when they are provided with opportunities and learning experiences to process varied events and situations, especially if given real problems. This evaluation should also be integrated into their learning experiences. Assessment tools in school should be authentic. So for that, yung assessment tools natin right now, since we are under online classes, it is really hard. So teachers can't evaluate you guys if you're really having authentic assessment for yourselves. Or yung kung ginagamit nyo ba talaga yung assessment namin na binibigay sa inyo into authentic one. Kung ginagamit nyo ba talaga siya kahit nasa bahay lang kayo or habang yun nga, nag independent learning kayo into your house. So, yun, ang hirap din i-measure right now. Students can make inferences, sound judgments, and relevant conclusions and use their learned knowledge to varied situations. So, hats are very much needed in the fast changing world. So, right now, no, with your generation, yan, if you do not have this 21st century critical mind, hindi kayo makakasabay, no, dun sa flow ng generation nyo. But rather, malaleft behind kayo, especially nung batch ninyo. Kasi nga, this time, no, it requires critical thinkers na kailangan na nakakasunod dun sa phase ng buhay na meron tayo ngayon. Lalong-lalo na dun sa mga different dilemmas or problems that we are facing right now. So for the last factor under cognitive and metacognitive is the number six. Learning is influenced by environmental factors, including culture, technology, and instructional practices. So, kindly take a look with the clip art that I am having in my presentation. So, yan. So, iba-iba factors na din yung nakaka-affect sa inyo right now, no? Hindi lang yung teachers, hindi lang yung school, but rather the culture, the technology, and instructional practices. Learning does not only take place inside the classroom. Of course, most especially right now kasi nga we do not have the opportunity to have classes inside our classroom sa school, no? Much of what learners learn in the classroom with their teachers can only have meaning once they see them concretely in their everyday life. So, mas maganda pa rin talaga kasi yung sa face-to-face, 'di ba? Yung parang binibigay mo yung information or your knowledge sa school and then after dun, after lumabas ng estudyante mo dun sa apat na sulok ng classroom 'no, makikita mo ina-apply nila yung learning into their real lives, parang mas fulfilling din 'yan as teachers. Examples given in the classroom should be a reflection of their actual life experiences. Of course, that is very important, no? Yung real life na talaga yung binibigay natin. And then the digital tools and instructional practices must be carefully selected to facilitate a motivating, stimulating, and encouraging learning environment geared toward effective acquisition of knowledge, concepts, and skills among learners. So this one, yung technology, it has been mentioned, no? And we do not have the limitations for you guys to uh, let you know what are the things you need to use because yun nga, sa inyo din, no, depende dun sa kung ano ba yung meron kayo, ano ba yung gamit na technology nyo ngayon for our case. And yun, hindi namin kayo malilimitahan doon or hindi namin kayo mabibigyan ng halimbawa ako, 'di ba, no, na oh, ito lang yung kailangan mong gamitin, what if wala ka? So we can't do that right now. Pero in reality, no, lalong-lalo na if we're having face-to-face right now, culture, technology, and instructional practices are very important factors under cognitive and metacognitive. So after this, we will be having our half part of the lesson one. It is the motivational and affective factors. So, under motivation, it is how the learners push themselves to learn and how they value learning are the concerns of the motivational factors. So, into motivation, of course, teachers do have the responsibility to motivate students, no? But most importantly is that your students must have their own self-motivation. Kasi hindi naman natin mapupush yung mga estudyante, 'di ba? Kung sa sarili nila wala talaga. So, minsan connotation na din yung gano'n no, na hindi nakikinig kasi teacher factor. What if may problem talaga yung estudyante? So, we do not, let's not degrade ourselves for this one kasi nga, uh, teachers do their best para makuha yung interest ng estudyante, pero what if students really don't have the motivation? And yun, dun tayo tutulong para sa mga estudyante. And for the affective, This includes the attitude, feelings, and the emotions that the learners put into the learning tasks. Ayan, if they find it good, no? So, magiging happy sila. If they're not that interested with the topic, maybe they will get mad or yeah, sleepy, 'di ba, sa mga lessons. Pero 'yon, sa mga learning tasks kailangan din yung motivational and affective factors for them to accomplish what they are needing. Ayan. Okay? So we only have three factors under motivational and affective. So let's have the first one. The first one is what and how much are learned are influenced by the learner's motivation. Like what I've said, no? Hindi lang lagi kay teacher. Pero dapat galing din sa estudyante yung motivation na gusto nilang matuto kung gaano kadami at kung ano ba yung natutunan nila ay nakadepende pa rin sa kanila. Because teachers really give their best to teach, no, sa mga estudyante natin. So motivation to learn is influenced by the individual's emotional state. So papasok na dito yung affective. Beliefs, interests, and goals, and habits of thinking. Motivation plays a very important role in learning. It pertains to an individual's inner drive to do something, accomplish something, pursue a goal, learn and master a skill, or just discover without necessarily being forced or pushed by anyone. The level of one's motivation would also determine the extent of his or her ability to accomplish desired task. The way teachers motivate their learners is then crucial to make them actively engage in the learning process. So, once you're having your teaching, practice teaching, no, you will be encountering lesson planning, yung talagang nakaset up na sa mga estudyante natin. And you will be encountering the motivation part for our students. Tayo mismo sa lesson plan, naglalagay ng motivation, no? Most especially dun sa elementary and then high school up to senior high school. May motivation part talaga yung ating lesson plan. In my experience right now, in your campus, no, so naka-syllabus, and then it's up to the instructor na how they will motivate their college students, no? Kasi nga, lalong-lalo na college students na kayo, itong number one motivational and effective factor is really into you, no? So, sa inyo na mismo manggagaling. Okay, next one. This is second to the last. The learner's creativity, higher order thinking skills, or the HOTS, and the natural curiosity all contribute to the motivation to learn. Ayan, so papasok na din siguro yung background ng estudyante, ano yung pinanggagalingan niya, di ba, bago pumasok sa eskwelahan, and all the others. There are two kinds of motivation, the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation. So yung intrinsic motivation is manifested when an individual engages in an activity or task that is personally gratifying. It is personally rewarding and there is no expectations for any external and tangible reward. So that is intrinsic, so inside within yourselves. But on the other hand, the extrinsic motivation is its direct opposite. A person engages in a task or activity to earn external rewards or to avoid punishments in some situations. Ayan. Remember this, intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevant to person's interest and providing for personal choice and control. Ayan, so as you heard it right, no, intrinsic is the most important one. So, galing kasi within yourselves. So, hindi mo kailangan ng siguro praise ng iba or reward ng iba, no, para lang mag-push through ka dun sa mga gusto mong gawin or mag-push through ka to learn. Okay? And then lastly, is the acquisition of sophisticated knowledge and skills required or requires extensive learner's effort and guided practice. So again, acquisition of sophisticated knowledge and skills requires extensive learner's effort and guided practice. The learner's motivation to learn is also partnered by their extended efforts. Teachers facilitate learning opportunities and experiences that encourage learners to exert time and effort, and at the same time commitment and enthusiasm toward a task they have to do and a concept they have to learn. It is through the teacher's encouragement that they will have to do tasks with quality and not just for compliance sake. So, actually, honestly, no, nung sa real life pa, I mean real life, yung face-to-face classes pa, nakikita ko yun, no, yung motivation ng estudyante para ma-accomplish yung activity na binibigay, tapos yung enthusiasm nila na matapos, tapos makikita mo nag-enjoy sila kahit makalat yung classroom, pero yun, natutuwa sila kasi nagagawa nila yung task na binibigay sa kanila ng school or ng teacher. Pero right now kasi 'no, maybe yung iba sa inyo, I'm not discouraging anyone 'no, yung iba sa inyo, may problema sa gadget na ginagamit nila, sa internet connection, and naiintindihan ko naman yun 'no. So, wala na ring control yung teachers into your affective factors kung ano ba yung kailangan mong o dapat mong maramdaman right now in the middle of the pandemic. Pero yun, I hope even though na online class tayo ay magkaroon kayo ng sariling motivation niyo to learn, independently inside your houses without compromising your own sake, 'di ba? Yan, I hope everyone can still enjoy learning kahit po may pandemic, no? And yan, second semester na ngayon, and I hope everyone will continue their education up to the end, most especially you guys in education program. So I think that will be all for this presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you gain a lot of knowledge through this lesson. And see you later, or see you in our another lessons. Once again, I am Miss Gofelin Baes, and thank you.